Welcome to the podcast. I'm Zachary Phillips. So, I've had a couple of people message me online asking specifically what my morning rituals are. What's my morning routine? What sets me up for the day? And before I get into that, I want to recommend a very good book, and I'll put the link down below. It's called Daily Rituals: How Artists Work. And in this book, it covers a bunch of different world famous artists, past and present, talking about what they do and don't do every morning. And the examples cover the wide variety of different possibilities. Some of them are very strict, to the minute. That everything's rostered, everything's chosen, everything's very specific, and they sort of follow this routine exactly. Other people are very varied. They wake up at whatever time, they do whatever they like, and then they get creative in their own time. And what it really does show you is that there's no one way to be creative. There's no one way to be successful. What there really is a way to do is to find your own success, to find your own method, to work yourself out and to work out what a morning ritual or morning routine or a daily ritual and daily routine means for you, or if you should even have one. So with that in mind, I typically go down the path of a little bit more structured and organized, at least in the morning. I get a lot looser as the day progresses, but I find that if I set myself up in the morning and get certain things done, I'm sort of primed for success. So I'm going to talk about what my morning rituals are and how that leads on to the day, as well as how I established this morning ritual. But like I said, I really don't want you to think about the idea that you should do exactly what I do. I strongly advise against that. And I also don't think that you should do it the way that I do it. So I'm fairly structured, but I'm not saying that's for you. All I'm doing is sharing what I specifically do, because there's been some curiosity about it. And if you want some more information about this, feel free to connect with me, obviously, and I'll go into some more depth. But every day I wake up at 6 a.m. and I pretty much have trained myself to wake up and just bang, get up and go. After that, I will, do the toilet, go to the toilet, grab some water, brush my teeth, etc. I will start a coffee pot going and I'll boil myself some green tea and a coffee, black. I'll drink the green tea whilst I'm reading about 5 minutes worth of a meditation book. Following that, I'll meditate for about 40 minutes. I'm going to break down specifically what I do for meditation and the other stuff that I do, but I'll meditate for 40 minutes. Following that, I'll do a 3 to 4 minute learning Russian language lesson. Then I'll do about 45 minutes of exercise in the home garage or out running. Then I'll do another short Russian lesson. After that, I will take a little bit of time to prioritize my day, what I want to get done, and I'll actually have a whiteboard on my wall that has, the ability to write up and cross it off. Then I will typically do a small video or a post on social media. And then I'll take the time to respond to everyone that's commented or direct message me on social. After that, I'll have a cold shower. And the shower, so I'm going to go into specifics about each of those things, but in general, that's basically what every morning looks like. So overall, that takes about 2.5 hours roughly. So from 6 to 8:30, I'm doing that. And then from there, I'll typically go into my day of either doing disability support work, doing all of the writing, podcasting, blogging, vlogging stuff online, or spending time with my family or other commitments that I've got. So specifically, what am I actually doing? So I've sort of realized in terms of, I've got 3 little things I want to discuss. In terms of, we'll start with, say, the diet. I start the day with the green tea. Then I do my meditation, and then after the meditation, whilst I'm doing the Russian lesson, I will have my coffee. And the reason for that is that I want to be pumped up. I want to wake up. So the green tea helps me to wake up to do the meditation, and then I want to get sort of a bit more energized to do the exercise. I've learnt that I only should have 1 coffee per day, otherwise it causes me tremendous anxiety. So I've cut it down to just prior to exercise, I'll have that coffee. In terms of specific diet stuff, I fast until 12. I'm on an intermittent fasting sort of regime, and there's multiple reasons why, but basically it just works for me and it feels good and it saves me time. I feel a lot sharper, a lot smarter, and a lot more functional if I'm fasting until 12. I just feel great. And I'll probably do a podcast specifically talking about my diet there, but basically my diet involves fasting until 12 o'clock midday, involves having 1 cup of coffee max per day, having very, very minimal alcohol, and having no sugar, and high protein, high fat. So after my green tea, I do some meditation. So what am I doing with my meditation? Well, I've talked about it before. I practice mindfulness practice, a mindfulness meditation practice called Vipassana. And there's a couple of resources that I'm going to link to you below. One of them's the chapter from my book, How to Get Your Shit Together on Meditation. Another one is a link to my Skillshare courses where I talk about meditation for your mental health. There's 4 courses up right now. And another one is probably the best book I've found on meditation called The Mind Illuminated. So all those links to you will be down below. And basically I do it in this approach. I take 5 minutes at the start to sort of ground myself. So I set a timer, 5 minutes, do my meditation and sort of get into it. Then once the alarm goes off, I do a bulk session of 30 minutes continuous. And then following that, I do another 2 minutes of meditation as a way to sort of finish off on a very strong mindful note. This approach is working for me. The 5 minutes sort of gets me primed and ready. The 30 minutes is the bulk of the meditation. And that 2 minutes just sort of brings me back to mindfulness and gets me going. Before and after that, so after meditation and after exercise, I do a Russian lesson. This is because I know that if I don't schedule the Russian lesson into my day, I just won't do it. I struggle with learning a language. It's tough, so I know if I put it into my day, I'll actually do it. In the past, I've tried delaying it and tried doing other stuff, and it just doesn't work. So I'm sort of really dedicating to learning the Russian language. Why Russian? Well, my wife's Russian, and I want to be able to teach my son Russian. And the more Russian I know, the more I can talk with my wife, and the more my son will pick up. So it's good to learn another language and good to give him a second language as well. In terms of exercise, after the meditation and Russian language, whilst I'm having the coffee, I'm doing the Russian, like I said, I'll go out to the home gym, and my exercise is split between 3 days. I have a primal day, quote unquote primal day, a sort of body weight day, and a prehab day. So on the primal day, I'm doing some tire flipping, some sledgehammer work, and some jump squats, and some sort of martial artsy sort of stuff. On the bodyweight day, I'm doing push-ups, chin-ups, dips, and handstands, along with runs often. And on the prehab day, I'm doing a bunch of specific stretches and prehab exercises designed to keep my body flexible and injury-free. And the idea is that I'll rotate that. So typically I'll do on a Monday will be primal, Tuesday will be shoulders, Wednesday will be prehab, Thursday back to primal, Friday the body weight, and then the Saturday the prehab again. Sunday I sort of do what my body feels and sort of have a little bit of a play or just give it a rest day if I need, but often I'll just sort of keep the 3-day cycle rotating. After that, like I said, I do the posting on social, and I found that once again that if I just get that one up and done, it sort of sets it up for the day. Now, often I do more than one post per day, but I've sort of made a commitment to myself that I'm going to post something every day. And that might be something as small as a meme or an image, or potentially a 1-minute video, or a longer video, or a podcast like this one. The idea being is that if I do that sort of smaller form thing whilst I'm outside and just quickly get it done, then I know that I've had that commitment and I've done it. Then obviously I do the responding on social because, as you know, I get a lot of stuff going on here and people are connecting with me all the time, and I want to make sure that I connect and engage with everyone that's taken the time to connect and engage with me. However, prior to that, I make sure to prioritize my day so I know exactly what I'm going to get done and what my goals are for the day. I often don't get it all done, but I like to work out, this is the most important thing to get done today, and then sort of go down in the ranks so that once I've got that free time between, finishing off my morning routine and my late night martial arts jiu-jitsu session, I know that I've gotten a bunch done and I'm doing it in the order of the most important first and sort of scaling down. Following all of that, I have a shower and get changed. I do the cliched cold showers. Basically, I'll start with warm, wash myself with a warm shower, and then flip it to 100% cold and sort of stand under that for maybe half a minute to a minute and just sort of moving around the body. The idea is that, 1, it trains discipline and inner strength, and 2, it sort of helps with recovery and your pause and cold adaptation and a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's really good for you. It's also very mindful. It's hard to be thinking anything else when you're having a cold shower and you're sort of blasted. So, with all that in mind, that's my morning routine. And like I said, I've given you the outlays and it's fairly specific. The show notes will have a sort of the essential outline down below so you can have a little footnotes of that. But like I said, I think it's vital that you work out what you should do in the morning. Personally, I find having a structured, disciplined morning to be very, very useful because it helps me to set my day up for success. I know that if I've done this morning, I've meditated, I've exercised, I've posted on social, I've done the Russian lesson, I've gotten myself sorted. It means that no matter what happens for the rest of the day, I'm ready to go and I know that I've done something good for myself. I know that I've done the bare minimum at least, and I'm not sort of forgoing that. I know that I've done my self-care, right? So I find that to be of tremendous benefit. And every time since I've been doing this morning for maybe 6 to 12 months, and my productivity for the rest of the day have improved. Yeah, I'm literally spending, 40 odd minutes meditating, doing, quote unquote nothing. And I'm spending a bunch of time exercising, and I'm, doing all of this other stuff that doesn't seem related to my other work. But it's like a force multiplier. Like I've said with meditation and self-care in general, it multiplies your ability to do other actions. And the more you meditate, the more you do that sort of stuff, the more efficient you'll be in other things. It allows you to see clearly what is important and what is not important. So once again, if you're not, I'll encourage you once more, get started on the meditation. Check out the resources below and get started because it really will help. So let's say you want to establish a morning routine. I'm not saying to do mine, but I'll talk you through how I established mine. What I basically did was work out, well, what do I want to get done 100% in my day? That's going into my morning. And for me, it's meditation and exercise. And really, meditation is the one thing that I'm not giving up. Everything else doesn't matter. And I realized that obviously we're all time poor and mornings are quite stressful. So I realized I had to get up earlier. So I started working down and I'm like, okay, initially I was sort of getting up whenever my body woke me. And that was anywhere from like 8 to 10:30. That's just ridiculous. So I slowly started cutting it down. I very quickly set an alarm clock, I think for about 8 o'clock. And then I started doing some jumps down. I went down to 7:45 and then down to 7:30. And then I got myself down to 7 o'clock and then it became quite hard to just do big jumps. So then I started reducing the time, waking up literally 1 minute earlier each day. So one day I'd wake up at 7, the next day 6:59, then the next day 6:58, then the next day 6:57. And every time I got a new minute, I would add a minute of meditation, right? And because it's such a small change, 1 minute per day, it's not like it's a massive jolt to the system. So I strongly suggest that if you need to get more time in your mornings, do a couple of big jumps, and then when you can't find that you can jump any earlier, take small steps, even 1 minute per day. And yeah, it might take a while, but literally in 60 days, in 2 months, you've got an hour more every morning. This, of course, means I do need to go to bed at a specific time at night. I try to be in bed by 10, but realistically, I'm sort of in bed asleep by 10:30, 11. That's okay. 7 to 8 hours is enough for me at this stage of life. So now that I've gotten that extra hour to 2 hours of time in the morning, I can now fill it with something useful. I also realized that I wanted to save time in the mornings by the issue of eating. I've looked into the benefits of intermittent fasting, and I've realized that a couple of things with my diet. I want to lose weight, I want to get fit, I want to get strong, but I love to gorge on food. I love to eat heaps of food in one big sitting. So how can I do that and still keep the goals of my health, my physical health, and not get, crazy large? Well, I realized that if I cut out sugar from my diet and I also intermittently fast, it means that I will be able to eat. When I do eat, I can eat heaps. Side benefit, in the mornings, it's saving me time on preparation, eating, and cleaning. So with all that in mind, I've got all of this extra time now. I'm waking up at 6. What can I do with that time? So like I said, I've realized that meditation is the most important thing in my life, but it could be different for you. If you want to guarantee you get some, fiction reading in, or exercise, or practicing of an instrument, whatever it is for you, put that in there first. Yeah, make that thing the first thing that you do. The thing that you want to get done the most goes in first and takes up that time. And then slot things in afterwards. For me personally, I do slow changes. And then eventually when I've got the mental capacity to know I do a big change and just lock it in. So I've locked in this morning now. I slowly changed, gotten up earlier, 1 minute per day. And until now, I've gotten to this time of like, okay, I'm getting up at 6 a.m. I'm doing my meditation, my exercise, and I'm ready to go. Now, What happens on days when, I stay up too late because my son's keeping me up, or I've got a late night commitment, or an early morning commitment the next day? If any of those things happen, I make sure to fit in the absolute bare minimum thing, which is a little bit of meditation. I just force it in there. If that means I have to get up earlier, if that means I'm a bit tireder, I still do it. Something that I found quite useful is that if you do stay up late, still get up at that early time, still get up at 6 a.m. That's for me at least. The reason being is that it's far easier to get up earlier, be a little bit tired that day and go to bed a bit earlier and then get back on board the next day than it is to sleep in and then, because if you sleep in, let's say I sleep in till 8 or 9 or 10, that night I'm not going to want to go to bed at my normal bedtime, which means the next day is affected and the next day is affected. So it's far, far, far easier to get up at 6 a.m., get up at that normal wake up time, go through the same morning ritual, and then just be a bit more tired throughout the day. And I used to be worried about being tired throughout the day, but it just means that at the end of the day, I can hit the bed and just go to sleep because I'm exhausted. There's something to be said about going to sleep exhausted and just sort of hitting the pillow and falling to sleep, because it's so easy to sort of be wound up and all anxious and all that sort of stuff. But when you've really tired yourself out from a massive day of work, whatever that work is, there's something just wonderful about hitting the bed and going to sleep and then getting up the next day doing it again. There's one final thing I want to recommend, and I refer back to this often, but it's really helped me to instill this discipline. If you're not on board already, start checking out Jocko Willink. Just Google him, check out his podcast, check out his videos, check out his books. He's been on Joe Rogan and on Tim Ferriss's podcast and a bunch of other places. He is the master of discipline. He has changed my life. I realized that growing up, I had very little discipline-based role models in my life. My father and the other people in my upbringing were horrible at instilling discipline, both in themselves and in me. And recognizing that, I realized that I need to just get this put into my brain. And Jocko has a very unique approach that just simply works. It really does help. So if you find that you're struggling for discipline and you're wanting a person that can really help with that to instill this morning routine, check it out. So with that in mind, I am going to wrap it up there. I just want to say thank you for everyone that's messaged in and the people that are curious about my morning routine. Thank you. This podcast is obviously for you and for those other people that are listening. If you have a topic you want me to talk about, shoot me a message. I'm happy to address it, particularly if I get a bunch of people messaging me about a particular topic. Obviously, it's what's wanted, and I'll sort of elaborate on that. Like I said, I'll put down the links down below to the way that I meditate and those sort of meditation links. And if you want to support the podcast, please feel free. The best way you can do so is to recommend it to someone. Chuck me a review, share it, all of that sort of stuff. It helps get the message out there. So yeah, check out those links, share this podcast, chuck us a review. And if you've got something you want to tell me, let me know. Connect with me on social media. I can be found everywhere at Zach P. Phillips and via my website, zachary-phillips.com. Catch ya.